Have you ever felt that look? The kind of gaze that makes you lose sight of the edge of your own sword. That's not poetry, that's design. There's an old kind of knowledge men used to pursue, and not because it was convenient, but because it was dangerous, costly, painful, and yet necessary. Today, most men avoid it, not because it isn't true, but because it demands more of them than they're willing to pay. Socrates didn't avoid it, he walked directly into it. And what he discovered wasn't some hatred of women the way critics sometimes paint him. It was something deeper, something more unsettling. A truth about the feminine that still stalks men's souls today. He warned, not with bitterness, but with reason sharpened like fire, that while men tend to be shaped by clarity, women often move in layers of smoke. He didn't say this to insult them. He said it to wake men up, because what's veiled can't be trusted blindly, and what enchants you must first be understood before it devours you. The Athenians laughed, the jurors condemned him, and yet Socrates smiled through their ignorance, because he knew a man who sees only what a woman appears to be and not how she actually functions is like a soldier falling in love with the shine of his enemy's blade. Beautiful, yes, but fatal. Socrates taught in questions, so let's ask some. Why does she want power in the shadows? Why does her affection so often feel mixed with strategy? Why does her silence sometimes say more than her words? If you never ask, you'll never see. And if you never see, you'll end up kneeling, not out of devotion, but out of delusion.
In the Republic, Socrates described the soul as just when it's balanced, ruled by reason, not enslaved by appetite or impulse. But what happens when a man builds his entire life around a woman whose nature he doesn't even understand? That man isn't building a soul, he's building a shrine to confusion. Socrates spoke of the tyrant soul, a soul led by desire, a soul that's always thirsty, never still. Gentlemen, how many men today wear the suit of reason while secretly being chained by their hunger for female approval? How many build kingdoms, not for legacy, but to impress a woman who won't even stay once the walls are breached? See, Socrates wasn't warning you about her, he was warning you about yourself. When you don't understand her nature, she isn't your enemy. She isn't your savior either. She's the test. And every man either passes that test or breaks under the weight of his own illusions. We were taught to chase beauty, but Socrates knew beauty is bait. What matters is the intention behind it. And this, he said, is where men fail. They chase form and forget essence. They chase her touch and forget her pattern. They don't study, they just fall. And when they fall, she doesn't catch them. Not because she's cruel, but because she isn't designed to. Nature didn't build her to build you. She selects, she tests, she adapts, but she does not build. That's your burden, that's your curse, and, if you face it, your crown.
A man, Socrates insisted, must live examined. That includes your thoughts about her. That includes your needs, your weaknesses, your longing. Because if you don't examine them, she will. She'll see what you refuse to see, and she'll use it. Not maliciously, but necessarily. The way a river doesn't hate the rock it erodes. The truth is, she doesn't hate the man she outmaneuvers. She's just following her nature. The question is, are you following yours? Socrates lived surrounded by men who misunderstood power. They thought power lived in silver, or applause, or votes. But he knew power belongs to the man who cannot be deceived, especially by what he loves. And that is where it begins. You were not born to orbit her. You were born to govern yourself. Socrates taught that the unexamined life is not worth living, but maybe even more dangerous than that. The unexamined desire is what destroys most men. And nowhere is desire more camouflaged than in the realm of women. It wears the mask of devotion. It sings like truth. It dances like destiny. But at its root, it answers to something older, something primal, survival, selection, instinct. You call it love. She calls it timing.
In Phaedrus, Socrates warns that love, if it isn't guided by reason, becomes a kind of madness. Divine, maybe, but still madness. He said the soul pulled by lust becomes like a wingless creature, crawling in circles, obsessed with the source of its appetite. How many men today are living in that loop? How many have sacrificed their mission, their values, their sovereignty, for what? A fleeting glance, a dopamine fix in a soft voice, a warm body in the dark. But you weren't put here to be devoured by the feminine. You were put here to understand it. Socrates noticed that while men often seek truth, women more often seek alignment, and not with truth itself, but with security. That's not an insult. That's a strategy. That's survival. It's adaptive brilliance. But here's the catch. You have to recognize it. Because she isn't looking for what's righteous. She's looking for what ensures survival, what reflects strength, stability, and status in her world. Your intellect doesn't seduce her. Your ambition does. Your certainty does. Your command of your reality does. But if you hand her the crown before you even wear your own, she will never kneel. And if you elevate her above your mission, she will test you until you fall. She's not cruel. She's responding to what you revealed, that your soul is for sale.
Socrates believed the soul had three parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. And the highest man is the one whose reason leads the way. But what happens when appetite takes the wheel? When sexual craving, emotional neediness, or social hunger drives the decisions? The man dissolves. He no longer leads, he follows. Not her, but his hunger for her. You've seen men like this. Maybe you've even been one. Men who have no light unless she gives it to them. Men who kneel without ever asking what altar they're kneeling before. Men who burn their principles just to keep her warm. And if you don't wake up, you'll be one of them too. Socrates was surrounded by people who confused noise for wisdom, beauty for virtue, charm for truth. He saw through it all, and when he called it out, they killed him. But his words still whisper, not to the crowd, not to the simps, but to the one man who dares to see clearly. He saw that women, by nature, are more tuned to the present moment, to emotion, to safety, to the now, while men, on the other hand, are cursed and blessed with the burden of the future. Your mind stretches forward, your bones carry the weight of vision, your soul aches for legacy. But legacy is expensive, and the feminine offers a beautiful way to forget it, to trade it for comfort, warmth, and the illusion of peace. You must not. Your peace can't come from her compliance. It has to come from your clarity. She will test that clarity. She will test your frame. She will test your conviction. And she will mirror your uncertainty back to you with alarming precision. If you don't master yourself, she will master you, not with malice, but with instinct. Socrates taught, don't hate the world, interrogate it. Don't fear the forces that confuse you, illuminate them. So illuminate her, not with suspicion, but with understanding. She is not your anchor, she is the tide. And if you don't know the difference, you'll drown.
you have to become a philosopher of your own instincts. Socrates warned, more in silence than in speech, that man's downfall rarely comes from the spear or the state. It comes from the desires he refuses to study. And no desire haunts men more than the longing for the feminine mystery they don't understand. The tragedy of man is not that he needs her, it's that he doesn't know why he needs her. And in that blindness, he elevates her into a god, and then blames her when she doesn't perform miracles. The truth is, she was never meant to complete you. She was designed to test you. In Gorgias, Socrates dismantles the idea that pleasure equals good, that what feels right must be right. He tore down the notion that validation, especially validation from women, is a measure of virtue. And what he uncovered is chilling for men today. Your pursuit of her approval isn't noble. It's a symptom of your forgotten purpose. You don't need her eyes on you. You need your soul to stand upright in the dark.
Men today aren't collapsing from lack of talent. They're collapsing from internal disorientation. They can read her moods better than they can read their own values. They can recite the scripts she likes, but forget the vows they once swore to themselves. You think you're being romantic. She thinks you've lost your edge. And here's the thing, she's right. She cannot love what she does not respect, and she cannot respect what she can control. Socrates didn't spell this out in modern words, but his framework points straight to it. He saw harmony not as equality of nature, but as each soul in its rightful order. A woman doesn't want to lead you. She wants to feel safe under your direction. But if you abdicate that role, if you make her emotions your compass, her approval your mirror, her affection your prize, you stop being a man. You become a satellite. She may keep you around, but not because she wants to, because it's convenient. And convenience always expires. The world is full of men who thought they could win her love by worshiping her. But love is never won through worship. It's won through sovereignty. In Meno, Socrates asks whether virtue can be taught, but he also asks something deeper, whether men can even recognize virtue anymore. That same question echoes today.
Do you know what masculine virtue even is? Do you know what it looks like before you offer it to her? Or have you mistaken devotion for discipline, lust for loyalty, compliance for love? She doesn't want you broken. She doesn't want you needy. She doesn't even want you nice. She wants you real. And the real man doesn't orbit the feminine. He orbits the good, the true, the just. And he invites her to walk alongside him only if she can keep pace with that orbit. When she sees you live by principle, not persuasion, when she sees you speak with restraint, lead with clarity, and love without losing yourself, she'll follow, not because you demanded it, but because you deserved it. That's the paradox Socrates understood. Power doesn't come from chasing it. It comes from being the kind of man who doesn't need it from anyone else, especially from her. The moment you stop seeking her favor and start seeking your form, not the form of your flesh, but the form of your essence, you become untouchable, not because you're hardened, but because you're whole. Wholeness, that's the forgotten wealth of man. The temples of Athens weren't built for comfort. They were built for virtue, etched in stone, measured in trials, whispered into the ears of men by voices like Socrates. Know thyself, not please her, not serve her, not bend yourself into what she desires, but know. Because in knowing there is power, and in power there is peace. But here's the tragedy. Most men today aren't at peace. They're at war, not with women, but with themselves, with the lie they tell themselves that her love will save them, that her body will cure their restlessness, that her smile is enough to substitute for selfhood. That isn't love, that's intoxication. And every philosopher knows the drunk can't see the truth. Socrates often spoke of forms, the ideal realities behind our earthly shadows. There's a form of womanhood, just as there's a form of manhood. But modern men, they chase shadows. They chase the curves, the eyes, the perfume, the posture, and they forget to ask the critical questions. What does this form serve? What does it protect? What does it devour? She is not evil. She is efficient. She is not deceptive. She is adaptive. She isn't broken. She is complex, calibrated for survival. Not yours, hers. Her instincts are sharper than your fantasies. Her decisions are faster than your affections. And when you're clouded by lust or longing, she sees what you don't, your weakness. Socrates never said this outright, but it's woven into his dialogues. You are either governed by reason or by desire. There is no middle ground. The man who falls into her without a map doesn't become free. He becomes lost, maybe smiling, but drowning. And what's his fate? To blame her for the undertow he never trained for. But the man trained in reason, the man who interrogates his instincts, who stares down his thirst, who unmasks the illusion before it seduces him, that man doesn't drown. He sails. She respects him not because he's cruel, but because he's clear.
In Symposium, Socrates speaks of Diotima, the woman who taught him that love isn't just pleasure, it's a ladder, a climb from the love of one body to the love of all beauty, to the love of wisdom, and finally, to the divine. But most men never climb. They stay stuck on the first rung. They rot in the pit of pleasure, never asking what it was meant to point them toward. Don't rot, climb. She is the beginning of a question, not the end of your journey. She is the gate, not the kingdom. She is the wind, but you must be the sail. Your strength isn't in overpowering her. It's in outgrowing the need for her to define you. Let her be mystery. Let her be paradox. Let her be woman. But you be man in the Socratic sense, measured, examined, enduring, unmoved by flattery, unbroken by rejection, undistracted by glitter that fades. That is your path. That is your calling. That is your dignity. And dignity isn't gifted. It's forged in silence, in rejection, in the cold clarity of nights where no one is watching and no one is coming to save you. That's where Socrates would have you build. Not in her arms, not in her validation, but in your own unshakable inner court. The man who needs her warmth to feel whole has no fire of his own. The man who bends his will to keep her affection will eventually break. And when he breaks, she won't pick up the pieces. Not out of cruelty, but out of nature. Because even she is searching for the man who doesn't need her, but chooses her, with full awareness of what she is and what she is not.
She's not your therapist. She's not your savior. She's not the mirror to prove you matter. You want her to see you? Then stand where men rarely stand, in solitude, in discipline, in mastery, without needing to be seen at all. Socrates said,
The shortest and surest way to live with honor in the world is to be in reality what we would appear to be. And what does every man want to appear to be? Strong, wise, desired, respected. The real question is, how many are willing to actually become that? Don't chase her attention. Cultivate presence. Don't chase her body. Master your appetites. Don't chase her love. Offer your truth and let her respond as she will. This is the examined life, not just thoughts, but motives, not just philosophy, but posture, not just knowing what the soul is, but knowing what your soul does when confronted with beauty, temptation, and rejection. Because that moment, when she tests you, when she pulls away, when she withholds, that is the sacred trial. That is the arena. And that's where most men betray their own throne. But not you. You stand, you hold, you choose reason over reaction. You see that she is not the obstacle, she is the signal. If her affection shatters your focus, the weakness was already in you. If her silence breaks your spirit, the silence was always yours. So don't resent her for being what nature made her. Study her. Respect her design without surrendering to it. She is the wind. You are the mast. You don't rage when the wind shifts. You adjust your sail. That is manhood. Not control, not conquest, but unbreakable orientation. This is the secret the world hides, buried under soft philosophies and convenient lies. But Socrates whispered it through every paradox, every poisoned cup. Be unshaken.
Because when you are unshaken, she feels it. Not in fear, but in awe. And she knows this one cannot be moved. And when she knows, she does what her nature demands. She orbits, not out of submission, but selection. Not as a prize to your posture, but as a response to your power. For women don't fall for men. They align with them. They mirror strength, not sympathy. They follow rhythm, not words. They seek heat, not the flame that flickers, but the one that endures. Socrates would never beg for loyalty. He would become the man to whom loyalty is inevitable, because he understood what is grounded governs what is fluid. And you, man, are not meant to chase water with empty hands. You are meant to build a channel and let it flow. The world will tell you to bend, to please, to adapt. But once you fold to earn her favor, you'll fold again and again until you're no longer a man, but a memory. There is no intimacy without integrity. So, do you want to know the kind of man a woman cannot leave? It's not the richest, not the most handsome, not the most poetic. It's the man who could walk away and still be whole. That's the man Socrates would recognize. That's the man the world needs. Not louder, clearer. Rise, without rage, without apology, without fear. Not against her, but for yourself. Because when the illusions die, when the tests come, and when the soul finally ascends, you'll know the truth Socrates died for. The woman is not the battlefield. She is the mirror, the forge, the fire. And the real battle is with you.